Hello folks, it is time for some more hobby nightmares. I hope everything is going well for you during the week. Tomorrow we have a very special video coming out that I hope you will support. It is to do with Mental Health Month, because that's what May is, and so we'll be doing that tomorrow. It is a video near and dear to my heart, and put it this way, my missus heard me recording that video, and she was a bit upset outside. That's how raw it goes tomorrow. So if you're up for sharing tomorrow, if you're up to doing some mental health work tomorrow, if you're up for maybe getting a shot on the arm of how things are gonna go and what I think you should do with your life if you're struggling with depression or something like that, then make sure you tune in tomorrow and we can have a little chat about it. All right? If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. Let's jump straight into the hobby nightmares, shall we? With Lawrence, who says, "Hello North. Feel free to call me Lawrence." I have done, Lawrence. Please make sure if you want me to call you by your real name, that it's, kosher to do so. "I have been listening to your channel for about a year now, and I love the cringe and funny stories. Thank you. I deeply appreciate your insight on mental health. Thank you very much. I suppose the first part of the story falls under cringe. I have this person who is part of my larger friends group. Let's call him Dave. Dave contacted me back in August 2023. He wanted to get out of the 40k hobby and was unable to sell his very extensive Eldar army. I agreed to meet with him and pick up his 40k stuff. That was when things took a turn in my personal life. I was diagnosed with diabetes and had to make serious life changes. Of course, that was only the start. In October, I lost my job of 7 years because of a demon wearing human flesh, a whole other nightmare. It was not until after the holiday season I started a new job and finally felt like I could breathe again. I contacted Dave to see if he was still interested in letting go of his 40k army. He was very enthusiastically wanting to get rid of his models. Not a good sign of enthusiasm either, okay? Suspicious for a reason, because giving stuff away can be a warning sign. Dave said he was going to be in my area of town. I could drop off the stuff off at the local Warhammer store where I was going to be playing a game with a friend. I was looking forward to seeing Dave because it had been some time since we had gotten together, and it would give me a chance to evaluate him and how he was. Okay, good. What a nice guy. Good lad. I was knee-deep into getting my derriere kicked by Lord Croak in his Age of Sigmar when Dave called and said he would be running late because he had a little bit of drama the night before. I did the courtesy thing and asked if he was okay. Can I help? He very casually says I asked my wife for a divorce last night. I was a bit shocked by the dry tone in which he said it. Half an hour later, he shows up with a woman in tow that is not his wife. I would not have guessed that he would be so crass as to go out on a date the following day after asking for a divorce. I would also not have guessed that he would choose to date somebody who has many mutual friends with his wife. Oh my god. At least I could rule out self-deletion. He was apparently opted for marital self-deletion. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, when somebody, I know we've covered this on the channel before, but when somebody starts just giving away their prized possessions, I'm like, no man, I want you to have it, you don't owe me anything for it, that kind of thing, that's a big warning sign. Right? Don't have, you know what I mean, like that's a big warning sign. Don't accept the stuff until you know that this is a thing that they're talking about because, it's right for them. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just getting out of the hobby, They just need some money in short term. That's fine, but get to the bottom of it first. Don't just accept things from people out of the blue if it's free and it's something that is, very valuable, because you never know what they may be contemplating on doing to themselves, and getting away with all their worldly possessions is a way of letting go. Do you know what I mean? Of saying goodbye. So just be very careful. Anyway. Not that this is what this guy was doing. He was just cheating on his wife. but I was not surprised because he has never known how to properly end a relationship. Previously, he would just ghost a girl. This time, I really hope things will be different, seeing how he is married and has a child. I guess some people just don't change. No, they don't. Men or women, doesn't matter. Lads, here's the thing. And I bet you this guy ends up miserable with this new woman. Do you know why? The only woman who will take another woman's man and just get on with it and get in a relationship with him is probably the worst kind of woman you could ever be with. That's a bitch. That's a bitch. That is a woman who even other women hate. Okay, that is the lowest of the low for a woman. If you go out with another woman's man, if you touch another woman's man, that is the biggest no that they have. Right? You just don't do it. You don't do it. A lot of my girlfriends, as in not girlfriends, but girlfriends, they quite happily would forgive somebody for talking behind their back because they do it all the time, right? They bitch about each other all the time, and I don't think they realise that when they do it with male friends, like we're not, shall we say, one of their female friends. You know what I mean? So we're quite taken aback a lot of the time by how they are, right? They bitch about each other all the time, and they'll forgive that kind of thing. What they won't forgive is a woman who literally goes behind a friend's back and takes the man away from them. That's scummy. And if you get with a woman like that, you are opening yourself up to a whole world of hurt. She will do it to you too. No successful relationship can be built on cheating, right? Just can't. Just can't. There is a very good reason why, Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. It's a bit personal. But anyway, I've been in a situation where, you give a grace period, right? When one person gets divorced, you give a grace period before you even start dating and start being romantically involved with each other. Even if that's what you want to do, you give a grace period. You know what I mean? You say, no, we're not together. We're not doing anything. We're just going to be friends, and we'll see where we are in a year's time. Because this isn't appropriate, right? You've just got divorced, you've got this, got that going on. That's the way to do it. If a relationship is broken down and you're moving in and saying, look, I like you, I know your relationship's broken down, but I like you, well, that's the way to do it, right? You respectfully step back, you make your intentions known, you step back, and you leave it for a year or two, and come back when things have settled down and see if it's still there, right? I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but dude, when a relationship is there, don't get involved in it. Don't. It's not worth it. Man or woman, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Absolutely not worth it. Because no relationship can last if it's built on sneaking around and lies. Anyway, moving on. One at a time, I opened a 3 huge stack of boxes of models, okay? Dude, this is written all higgledy-piggledy. One at a time, I open the 3 huge stack boxes of models. The first thing I see is Phantom Titan parts. I remember him bragging about picking one up. I rather assumed he sold it individually, but apparently not. After pulling the parts out, I realised there was extensive damage. Dave was never a good painter, and even worse at assembly. He used generic superglue and plaster parts to hold the model upright. The plaster was all over the model. It had to be chipped off in places. The primer was so heavy that there were drips running down the legs. He drilled holes through the tops of the feet and bolted the model to the base, leaving several inches of bolt sticking up above the foot. I had multiple people advise me I should just turn it into terrain. I spent a few days contemplating what I should do with this model. Dave only ordered one arm for it. I was not in a financial position to purchase a second arm. He would also require a major teardown of the shoulder joint that would likely just do more damage. I talked with somebody that I know who has a great deal of experience assembling a Forge World model, and he agreed to get the model upright and assembled in exchange for an Eldar army. I forgot to mention, his stuff and a few others that have given me stuff in the past, I now had 27,000 points of Eldar. A week later would be the start of the worst 3 months of my life. Okay. Wow, okay. My father-in-law ended up having a spinal stroke. It is a type of stroke that cuts off circulation to your spinal column, potentially leaving you paralysed. My mother-in-law has had some memory issues and was finally diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My mum took a fall and gave herself a compression fracture of the spine, leaving her hospitalised for a month. Life has gone full chaos with this level of stress that was absolutely crippling and even dangerous to health. We both agreed, with all this sudden stress, that we needed to make sure we got in our personal time, as in me and my missus. I was sitting on my couch literally shaking from the stress when my phone rang, and it was a fellow hobbyist who works at another game store in the area, and they had reported that my Titan was fully assembled. I jumped off the couch, and away I went to pick it up. As soon as I saw it, an idea popped into my head. I can't do much about a lot of the damage, but I could cover it possibly with some extra bits, a dash of green stuff and some clever painting. The Phantom rapidly became my stress release. I took your advice, turned on some hobby nightmares, and when time allowed, I would work on it. Slowly, I was able to work on the Phantom, 10 minutes here, an hour there. I themed the Phantom, slowly being torn apart from the inside out by the insidious bioweapons of the Tyranids. The left arm was torn off in an epic struggle for survival. I included a picture, and I'm still picking out a few details. Okay. Well, this I've got to see. Let's have a little look here. Because I think I'm on the right computer for this one. I am! Hooray! Let me just save that. Excellent. And we whack it on here. That is a massive... I didn't realise they were this big. That's what she said. But like that, this is... Wow. Look at the size of this. That's incredible. That's so silly. That's so massive. That is silly, man. I can see the damage. I can see the damage. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. I can see it. Yeah. Let's see what you're doing. Let's see what you're doing. So you got like the Bio-Titan, the biomass is trying to get in, right? Right, I can see that, right? And it's walking around, you know, kicking the shit out of things. I like that. That's cool. That is cool and very well painted. A very good idea. I will leave it on the screen for a little while. Cool. Magnus says, "Hello North. It's Magnus again with another hobby nightmare. Thank you for reading my previous email. I enjoyed it very much. This nightmare takes place at the tail end of 1995 while I was stationed on the Marine base located at 29 Palms, California. The town boasted several tattoo parlors and bars with one little hole-in-the-wall hobby store that carried comics, toys, and Warhammer 40k, along with a few other tabletop-style games. The owner, who resembled the comic book guy from The Simpsons, loved having my barracks roommate and I in the store, as we were probably the only 40k customers he had. Okay. One day I walked in, and instead of the owner being behind the counter, I found a beautiful young woman, who I'll call Abby. If you've watched the show NCIS, then you know why I chose the name. Well, you can't. I don't know who that is, but now I need to find out. Let's have a little look. Abby, NCIS. I mean, yeah, she's all right. She's gothy. She's gothy. Right, yeah. She's fine. Yeah, she's okay. I mean, I was expecting some, like, stone cold hottie, I'm going to be honest with you. But, yeah, she's lovely. Yeah, great. Maybe she looks better than in the promo photos. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. This woman was, in my opinion, a knockout. Okay. She had jet black hair and a ponytail, short jean shorts, fishnet stockings, and several tattoos peeking out from under her tattered rock band t-shirt. I was just getting over a painful divorce at the ripe old age of 22, and I hadn't had any contact with women for almost a year. 22? What's going on? When the owner came into the store, he was happy that Abby and I had met and quickly told her how I was a valued customer who spent a lot of money in the store. I returned to the store a few more times over the next couple of weeks, and every time I was there, Abby would slink out from behind the counter and come up to me with no regard for personal space. I won't lie, it was intoxicating, and I couldn't help but stutter when she would stare too long into my eyes. Dude, this woman's fucking trouble. This woman's trouble. There are a few warning signs here. Loads of tattoos, alright? I don't mind a tattoo or two, that's fine. You know what I mean? Every woman's had a past, it's fine. But like covered loads of tattoos, nah, not my bag. Normally it means mental damage. I'm sorry, it does. Like I've been around enough rock bars, worked in enough rock bars to know the more extreme the tattoos, it's generally covering up some sort of mental pain that you don't want to deal with. All right, so that's number one. Number two, overly promiscuous and flirtatious. If she's coming up to you and basically grinding on you when you've just come into a store, it's not even a bar, it's a store. That's, again, this may be a one and done kind of deal, if you know what I'm saying, right? This may be a deal of, have your fun and leave, but don't stick with this, because this is not going to go well. This is not going to go well. This girl needs therapy. Let's see if I'm right. I may be jumping to conclusions. I may be, judging a book by its cover. Let's see, shall we, guys? Let's just have a little look-see here and see where we are. All right. So, after about a month, the store started pushing plastic cards, with the owner asking anybody who entered the store if they wanted to try the game and maybe even buy a starter pack. When he asked me, I just shrugged and said I wasn't really interested, as I was firmly into 40k and not much else. Abby fixed me with a playful grin and took me by the hand, saying she would teach me the game her way and that I would have a blast. As the owner sat across from me for the trial game, Abby came up behind me, slipping her arms around my neck and whispering the rules in my ear in a voice that would put a sex phone worker to shame. Yeah, dude, it's fine. This is a one and done, I'm telling you now. Each time her lips brushed my ear or my cheek, my mind would instantly shut down and I would get beet red in the face. The owner's eyes would go wide and he would chuckle as he saw the effect Abby's teachings were having on me. Needless to say, I ended up buying several packs of magic cards, which is this... I've done it again, magic cards. I'm such a retard, man. I'm absolutely retarded. Why do I do that? Needless to say, so that's what I did. Needless to say, I ended up buying several packs of magic cards. Fucking idiot. Right. Which to this day I still own and have never used once. Please take a moment to have a sip of tea as we come to the nightmare portion of the story. We're about to find out, folks, if I was correct. And I think I was. I'm going to say this woman's a fucking nut job and he should have stayed well clear. And if you're going to put your dick in crazy, you need an escape plan. Anyway. One day I entered the store and found Abby in her place behind the counter in her usual outfit and her clunky black Doc Marten boots resting on the countertop. Abby and I talked for a bit, flirting heavily as we tossed out several sexual innuendos as the conversation became hot and heavy. Then she dropped an offer on me. She was closing the store and asked if I wanted to go back to her place for some fun, quote unquote. Of course I said yes, and I stayed around until she closed the store and we hopped into a truck. Dude, this is how guys end up in a ravine somewhere with their throat cut. Do you know what I mean? That this is how easy it is for a woman to just murder us, right? Literally, just in the truck. There you go. You just jump straight in there. No backwards glance. Straight in. We drove to her place and she quickly gave me a tour of the house she was renting. I'll admit that I was so wrapped up in being with Abby that I was oblivious to my surroundings. As we got into the living room, she slowly lowered herself to the floor, pulling me down with her. We kissed a bit, and she got on top of me as we playfully wrestled on her living room floor. Okay, fair enough. Just then, something happened that shocked and confused the shit out of me. As I was kissing Abby, I heard the unmistakable sound of a beer can opening and heavy footsteps moving closer to the room. Abby made no attempt to climb off of me. Instead, she leaned down to me, placing her hands on my chest as she greeted the man who entered the room. "Hey babe," Abby said cheerfully to a man I could only assume was her husband. Now, I'm a big guy, about 6'4", and this mystery man made me feel small. He didn't seem angry or upset, he simply grunted a return greeting and continued drinking his beer. Abby cheerfully introduced me as her friend, real name redacted, and that we were all just having some fun. She continued playfully straddling me and running her nails over my chest as she talked to her man. He made eye contact with me and the look in his eyes put ice in my guts. He didn't look mad, he just stared at me like I was a piece of furniture she had brought home. The husband sat down in his chair and continued drinking his beer as he watched us with an unreal calm look. Alright. Okay. I know I was right. But even I didn't think it'd go here. Right? Even I didn't think it'd go here. I know I'm right, but I didn't think it'd go this far. This guy's either a cuckold, in which you need to get out of there quick, because a cuckold who is that big, it only takes him, he's going to snap at one stage, because it probably isn't his idea. Right? He's going to snap. Any thought of getting lucky quickly turned into thoughts of getting out of there alive. This guy was being way too calm, and it was freaking me out. When he got up for another beer, I quickly picked Abby up off of me, and I got up to leave. She tried to get me to stay, saying it was cool and nothing bad would happen, but I was taking no chances. I made my way out of her place and quickly walked back to town and called a buddy from my unit to come and get me. I avoided the store for a few months. When I finally went back, Abby was nowhere to be found. The owner told me Abby had gotten herself into some trouble after the whole thing with me. It seemed that I wasn't the first guy she brought back to her place, and her husband had just put up with it for a little while, but finally had had enough. I told you. Right? No one ever saw Abby again, and I assumed she just got sent back to wherever she originally came from. I continued to visit the store in the following months, buying whatever orc models the store could get, until I finally completed my enlistment and went back home to Boston. I'm just glad that things ended up with some just embarrassment on my part and nothing else. Things could have gone a whole lot worse. Well, thank you for all your content and look forward to hearing many more Hobby Nightmares. Cheers. Oh my god, that was amazing. My days. Yeah, dude, you got lucky. You got lucky. There are some animals out there who would have just been like, I'll do it in front of you. I've known some. Like, there are some guys out there who have no conscience. They're just like, nah, I'll do it in front of you, dude. You either leave the room or, I'll look at you as I'm doing it. There are guys out there who will be like that. The ruthless, literally Tywin Lannister style power move. Like, oh, you're going to sit there, right? You're going to be that much... Like, they'll hate the guy in that situation that much for letting some other guy ream their wife or their missus. That they'll go, I'll do it in front of you. I'll look at you as I'm doing it. Because you deserve it. You're an arsehole. And you'd have more self-respect, right? I've known guys who would be able to... I wouldn't be able to do it. I would do exactly what you did. I'd be like, right, I'm done, right? I'd say either you come back to my place away from this, because I'm not doing you in front of some other dude, right? Either you come back to my place or you stay here. Those are your choices. See you later. And I'd get out of there, right? I'd still try and get laid, but I wouldn't want to get laid there, Because if you're there, you're already there. You may as well just, try, I suppose. But I don't know. I think you did the right thing. But you can tell just by the way she was acting that she was just mental. Absolutely mental. And, yeah. This is what I mean. Like tattoos... overly promiscuous nature. This is a woman with some issues. This is a woman who's going to get you into some trouble, right? And don't get me wrong, when you're young, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want some trouble. Maybe you want some life experience. But in most people, I would say stay away from women like that. Just stay away from them, okay? And if you ever get yourself into a situation like this, and you really do want to get laid, just say, listen, here's the ultimatum. I'm going home now. I'm not having sex with you in front of your husband. I'm going home now. Either come with me and we'll do it there, or you stay here with him. That's up to you, but I'm calling a cab, see you later. And you leave. Right? That's probably what I would have done. The only amendment I would have done is I would have invited her back to my place, but gone to a hotel or something. I wouldn't have taken her back to my home address, would have gone to a hotel. But again, a woman with this kind of mental situation, you never know what she's going to say. Yeah, I'm talking myself out of it. Do you know what? You did the right thing. You did the right thing. I'm thinking with my penis. You did the right thing. No. Get out of there. Don't have her anywhere near a hotel room or anything. Don't be alone with this girl ever. Because she's mental enough to accuse you of things you haven't done. Get the fuck out of there. You did the right thing. And, yeah, don't listen to me. Anyway, moving on. Corb says, you can call me Corb. Thank you. Good evening, North, and greetings from North Texas. I'm a long-time viewer but first-time writer. I thought I would tell you about how my quest for revenge led to the destruction of a Warhound Titan. However, in order for me to properly tell the events of this story, I need to lay some groundwork. You do so, sir. You do so. No problem. You do so. Where this story takes place is the comic and game shop that my brother and I have been attending since we were in our early teens. We are now both in our mid-30s. The owner of the shop, who we will call the old man, so as that is how we refer to him, has watched us grow up over the years, and we like him and consider him family at this point. Okay, that's nice. So, it was no surprise to either of us when we became excited at the news of my younger brother having a kid. That is nice. That is cool. I like that. As he put it, he was excited about having a new kid to corrupt with comics and wargaming. As my nephew grew up, he watched me and my brother play Warhammer 40k almost every weekend for the first 10 years of his life. Thus, it was no surprise to us that he wanted to start an army of his own. When he turned 11, I made a deal with him that if he received all A's at the end of the school year for Christmas, I would buy him the start of an army of his choice and teach him how to play. Well, the kid lived up to his end of the bargain. At the end of the school year, he showed me a report card with all A's, so I gave him my 9th edition core rulebook and told him to flip through the army pages and look at the different armies and tell me which one he thinks is the coolest as homework. It took him the good portion of the summer to finally settle on Grey Knights. What a kid! Now this is a child with some gumption, with some backbone, with some good moral fortitude. That's what he has, right? It took him the good portion of the summer to finally settle on Grey Knights, as he thought they looked cool by combining the medieval knights with magic and guns. His words, not mine. Well, he's right. He's correct. A wizard never reveals his secrets. Thus determined to be the cool uncle next Christmas, I got to work. On Christmas Day, he proceeded to open up over 3,000 points of Grey Knights, Dreadnoughts, Repulsors, paint, and painting supplies, as well as a fully painted Kaldor Drago. Needless to say, I was his favourite uncle. Dude, can I be related to you? Like, this is ridiculous. For the next half of the year, he and his father would build and paint his new army of Grey Knights, while preparing for the release of 10th edition. Finally, when 10th edition dropped, his army was ready to go, and we began teaching him the basics. Thus, this leads us to the main part of our story. The old man had decided to host an event at his store in order to get people familiar with the new rules of 10th. Me and my brother thought this was an excellent idea, as this would help my nephew get more experience with other players who were in a similar position to his, thus allowing him to grow as a player with the community. So, when the day arrived, my brother dropped him off at the store before heading to work. I was scheduled to arrive a few hours later, as I had a VA appointment that morning that I could not reschedule. When I arrived at the store with my models and my army, my nephew was nowhere in sight. When I asked the old man if he had seen him, the old man explained to me that he had his wife take him home as the kid was in tears and wouldn't tell them why. Okay. He just said that he'd wanted to go home. Concerned, I began to ask around if anybody had seen what had happened. Okay. I'm going to say that he's come across the local that guy, right? And he was a dickhead to him. Let's see. Right. A friend had seen what had happened and told me he had played a match against a man who we shall call Gonzo, as he was a thin, lanky, and had a large nose, much like the Muppet, and pointed him out to me. Now, I had seen Gonzo around the store several times, whenever the old man had such events for tabletop wargaming, and each time his opponent always looked frustrated and generally unhappy. He was that guy. There we go. However, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, so I left the store and headed to my brother's house in order to talk to my nephew. When I got to the house, his mother told me that he was in his room and I told her that he didn't want to play Warhammer ever again. When I talked to him, dude, I'm gonna say this is kind of your fault. Alright? This is kind of your fault, man. Your nephew's first game, even your friend's first game, if you've gotten somebody into the hobby, alright, and they're having their first game should be with you. You know, their first game should be with you. It should not be with some stranger who's liable to ruin the fucking hobby for them if they choose the wrong person. Because, as I've said all the time, it is very, very, very important to choose your opponents carefully. Very carefully. And as a new hobbyist, and especially as a kid, you don't have the skills to do that yet. You should have played him yourself in a big narrative blowout game, or a small blowout game, you know, that was really fun and got to show off is you should have bought yourself a 500-point demon army. Just so he can experience what it's like to be a Grey Knight slicing apart fucking demons. That's what you should have done. Alright? If you've got all this money, you can spend it on all those Grey Knights. Take some of that money and buy yourself a little force, 500-point force of demons, Khorne demons. Right? And play into his hands. Let him win. Charge the Khorne demons in and start rending things apart. Right? And have him use his tactics and things that he's learned to beat the Khorne demons. That'd be a really good way to start the hobby. And you can make sure that he's having a good time. Just sending him to a fucking event at a store when you don't know some of the people there is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do to somebody that young who's just started in the hobby. This is the kind of thing a neglectful parent does when they don't want to be involved in the hobby. I've seen it before. A neglectful parent will go, just go and do it. You go and play with your little toys in that shop, right? Because they don't care about the hobby. They don't care about their son or daughter's hobby. They don't give a shit, right? They just want to get them out the house. That's what you've done here. You shouldn't have done that, alright? When I talked to him, I managed to tell him that he had played a guy at the event, and that the man, after beating him, told him that he should get good scrub. And sorry, you've messed this up in the way you've written it. So I'm going to translate. When I talked to him, he managed to tell me that he had played a guy at the event, and that the man, after beating him, had told him that he should get good scrub and to throw away his army and buy a better one as he sucked and it was poorly painted. You know, I as one might guess, this would destroy the confidence of a 12-year-old kid who was still learning to play. Believing him, as I had seen the guy say similar things to his opponents before, I began to plot my revenge. For 2 weeks, I plotted and even gave a heads up to the old man with what I was about to do. Dude, you've done the wrong fucking thing again. Okay? This isn't about you. You've taken this as a stroke on your ego. This ain't about you, son, alright? It's about the kid. It's about your nephew. That's who it's about. Right? Your nephew's had a traumatic experience. It's up to you to help your nephew not to go and get revenge on this douchebag, which will cause more issues and more embarrassment for the kid. It's up to you to pick up the pieces and fix the mess that you created. That's what you need to do. You need to get this lad into the hobby. It's going to be good for him. I need to get him into the hobby with you. That is now your job. But what you've done is you've taken that information and you've picked the wrong answer again. You've gone to try and get revenge, quote unquote, like a fucking 5-year-old boy. This isn't the way to do it, man. Alright? What you do is you make sure that the kid is having a good time in the hobby, then you go and try and get revenge against this guy for him. You don't just march off, you know, big man on campus, chest puffed out. You know what I mean? You don't do that. This kid needs your help, and you just bailed on him again. You bailed on him twice. I don't know why it's making me so fucking angry, but yeah, you bailed on him twice. You know? You're like my uncle. My uncle does this. My uncle does this. Right? Tries to solve problems with bravado and money. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Don't need your money. Don't need your bravado. I need your time. Alright? Now, I play 2 different armies, Tau and Imperial Knights, since I love big stompy robots. This is important as both these armies will play an important role in the story. So when the old man hosted another Warhammer event, I initiated the plan that I had concocted. Arriving at the store, I scanned for my target and located him almost immediately. Walking up to him, I greeted him and asked if he would like to play a game against my Tau. How many points? He asked. And I told him, why not do 2k, since that's what I brought. Agreeing, he began to get 2k of Ultramarines from his box, consisting of all tanks, and laid them on the table. Thus the game began. Now, for those that don't know, at the beginning of 10th, Tau were in a bad place, boasting some of the lowest win rates in the game. So, it was no surprise that he tabled me on turn 3. However, this gave me insight on how he played and acted during the game. Turn 1, every time he would shoot off a unit of mine, he would say things like, "Ha! What a weak excuse for a unit," and other such comments. Turn 2, after killing off 3/4 of my army, he made the comment, "Damn, your army is so bad, you just get rid of it and get Marines." Thus setting my teeth on edge. However, this was part of my plan, so I kept my peace. Then finally, at turn 3, after tabling me, he laughed and said, "Looks like the time of the Tower's over. Games Workshop should just get rid of the faction. Its lore is trash anyway." Not rising to the bait, I responded with, "Well, good game. I bet if I had 3,000 points, it'd be completely different." "Oh, really? Want to schedule a 3,000 point game for the next event then?" he asked. "Sure," I told him, smiling inwardly that he had taken the bait. The day of the rematch arrived, and I showed up to the store and spotted Gonzo waiting at one of the tables. Walking to the table, I placed my cases down on the ground. "Well, are you ready to be crushed again?" he asked, as he began placing his tanks on the table. "I don't know. I think this game might go a little bit differently," I told him, as I began to take out a Warhound Titan and 1,900 points of Imperial Knights. "What? That's not Tau," he yelled. "You told me 3,000 points of Tau." Looking at him, I smiled and told him, "No, I just said 3,000 points. I never specified what army, but if you're willing to concede the game, I have no problems with that." Glaring at me, he grumbled, "Whatever, let's just play." So my revenge began. Turn 1, my knights took objectives while my Titan shot off 2 tanks, with me telling him, "Wow, those repulsors are kind of paper thin, huh?" Turn 2 and 3, more tanks were shot off, with my knight shrugging off wounds and holding objectives. North, you could see the anger and rage boiling beneath the surface, and I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't take pleasure in it. He had made my nephew cry, and I would have my revenge. Again, this is your issue, mate. This is your issue. He made my nephew cry, and I will have my revenge. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Like, there's a kid at home, sitting there, looking at his army, thinking he's wasted his time, really scarred by a really shitty experience that you put him through, that you put him in the way of, right? And your response is to go and get revenge for yourself. Turn 4 came around and my Titan fell finally to his last 2 tanks. "Ha! Take that!" he yelled, raising his hands in triumph. Shrugging, I moved the Titan aside, then proceeded to take out the last 2 tanks, with my knights tabling him and overwhelming him in points. The look on Gonzo's face was of pure frustration and anger. "Man, looks like Space Marines just aren't up to taking on knights, but, good game." I told him, only causing him to glare at me as if he was trying to bore through my skull with his eyes. Having destroyed him, I began to put away my models. As I was putting away my Lancer, I heard, "You cheated." Looking at him, I noticed that he was standing at the side of the table with his arms crossed next to my Titan. "What?" I asked. "You cheated. You told me you were going to bring Tau and you didn't," Gonzo stated, glaring at me. "Look, man, I told you before, I didn't state what army I was bringing. I brought knights and beat you. It's not my fault you misunderstood the statement." I explained to him. Glaring, he pointed at me. "You cheated and played an overpowered army on purpose," he yelled, now getting multiple eyes to turn to us. Oh, right, yeah, like how you did when you played a 12-year-old kid," I shot back. The stunned look on his face was almost priceless. However, he recovered quickly by yelling back, "That doesn't matter. The only reason you won was because of this." He yelled, and smacked the back of my Warlord Titan. North, I tell you, it seemed like time had slowed down as I watched it fly forwards and smash against the concrete ground. Oh, shit. I sat there for a few moments, stunned, before anger washed over me. Now, I don't remember how much of the next few moments, only that the next thing I realised, I was being held by two of my friends as the old man dragged Gonzo out of the store. Apparently, according to my friend, I had launched myself at him, only to be stopped by another one of my friends as he placed me in a bear hug. The old man had rushed over, grabbed Gonzo and dragged him from the store after telling another customer to pack up his things. I had calmed down by the time the old man came back and told me that Gonzo had been banned and that as much as he considered me family, that if I tried to do that again, he would have to ban me as well, as that would be my but as this was my first warning, he would let me get off. After I had calmed down further, I swept up the scattered moraines of my Titan before packing up my knights and going home. North, my question is, do you think I went too far in goading him and doing to him what he did to my nephew? Thanks, Corb. P.S. A few weeks ago, some guys that had watched the match presented me with a fully painted Warhound Titan, saying it was the best revenge match they'd ever seen, and that they all pitched in to get me a new one. Oh, okay. That's good, but I'm telling you now, man. How do I put this? I'm kind of glad it happened. I'm kind of glad it happened. I know it's going to sound really odd and awful, but your response to the situation was not great. Unless you've left stuff out. You may have left stuff out like, you know, you did go and play games with your nephew, you did try and get him into the hobby, you did try and comfort him and make sure that, you know, he knows that this guy is not normal, that he needs to stay in the hobby because it's going to be good for him, right? If you did all that, no problem. I don't have a problem, right? If you decided to make it all about you and go and be narcissistic and go and, you know, try and get this guy to basically cry in a store because it hurt your ego that he had a go at your nephew, right? That's toxic as fuck, and you need to look at yourself in the mirror. Because there was a kid there who needed your help. You can't solve everything with money and bravado. You can't. Kids need nurturing. They just do. Kids need nurturing. They need you to come back and tell them it's going to be alright. And every now and again, yes, they need a kick in the arse, but as far as I'm concerned, you did the wrong thing. Okay? From what you've told me, your first reaction to this kid's trauma was to make it about you and go and get your revenge, quote unquote, which is pathetic. That's not something you should be doing, okay? You should have helped that kid. You should have helped your nephew. You should have comforted your nephew, and you make sure he's okay first. When he's got a solid grounding in the hobby, and he's happy, and he's getting there, and things are going alright, that's when you head back to the store, you find this guy, and you give him the same treatment, alright? Okay? But even then, was it really worth it? You know? I know you got a Warhound Titan back, but I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem worth it to me. It doesn't seem worth it. It just seems like you've made it about you. And, you know, the kid's left the hobby now. And that sucks. That sucks. Because you weren't there. And number one, you put him in that situation. You did the really wrong thing of, oh, you've just started the hobby? Right, here's a 3,000 point army. Awesome, yeah. Oh, by the way, you see that tournament over there? Go and play your first tournament in that game over there. In that tournament over there. Go and play your first game over there with some strangers. I'm not coming, no. I'm not coming. I'm going to leave you to it, right? Yeah, bye now. And it blows up in the kid's face because you put him in front of that train. A train hit that kid and you put him in front of that train. That's what you did. And instead of helping the kid, let's do an analogy, right? Right? You love stopping trains. Let's just say, you know, you love, you're putting your hands up and you're using telekinesis, you stop trains, right? So, the kid wants to do it, you put him in front of a train and you walk off. The train hits him, right? He breaks both of his legs. And instead of healing that kid, you go, I'm going to beat up that train driver. Why? Like, help the child first, please. I don't know whether people will think I'm being really harsh on you, but, dude, like, no. You made it about you, and it just, something about this just irritated me. I don't know why. Anyway, I love you all a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for that very, very, very special video. I will try to do a video on Friday. I am away this week with the missus. We're going away for a country break for a few days. Just to get away from school, from work for a bit. Just going to go chill in the castle for a little bit. But I will be back on Friday, so if I'm back on time, I'll do another video, or if I've got good internet connection when I'm away, I'll do a Friday video. If not, then I'll see you on Monday. Hopefully I'll see you on Friday, but I love you a long time, and I'll speak to you then. Have a good one. Bye now.